3 straight years of Ohio State Notre Dame. This, the biggest of all, but 3. Oh my gosh, it's Thursday, Berm.
Perfect number of thoughts.
Wow, imagine that. Perfect number of thoughts. That's Jeremy Birmingham. I am Austin Ward. This is the Podcast Daily. You asked about this game being played for the 3rd year in a row.
I think it's unique, man. Like,
it's really cool.
I don't know enough. I don't. Maybe we get Jack Park on the phone or something and ask him like how many times it's ever happened in Ohio State history that they've played a non-conference opponent 3 straight years. I don't. Seems rare. The fact that it's Notre Dame, which is a team that Ohio State hadn't played but 5 times in the previous 80 years before that, makes it even more interesting. And then you throw on the sprinkle that Marcus Freeman has lost like 4 games in his career, and half of them are to the team he played for and was an All-American at. It's got a lot of subplots. We like plots. We like subplots.
Doesn't it feel like these teams should have played more? Like, it's 3 years in a row, so it feels like old hat. And maybe in the playoff era, it will become way more common. But it's like with 2 Midwestern powerhouse programs, 2 of the most prestigious brands in college football. We also covered the Fiesta Bowl matchup. Was that after the 2015 season? So like we've seen a decent amount of these games. It surprised me before that Fiesta Bowl how few times they'd actually played.
Well, and I mean, if you go back to that, it was 10 years before that when they played each other in the Fiesta Bowl in 2005, 2006 Fiesta Bowl, 2005 season. And then it was 95 and 96. And then it had been 60 years. So it's like, this is picking up in frequency. It is not picked up in, what Notre Dame wants from a result standpoint, obviously. Ohio State seems to be okay with it.
Seems to be working out just fine for
this
them.
one has obviously a much different feel. These teams have never played for a national championship. For 2 teams that have been historically among the greatest programs in not just college football history, but college athletics. It is weird that they've never really played what I would consider a truly meaningful game until this one.
Yeah. Well, the stakes could not be higher. Monday night in Atlanta. Ohio State will be leaving tomorrow, Friday, but today's Thursday. So let's get into 3 things. Thing number 1, Berm, what is the most interesting thing that you have heard this week?
I don't know that it's something I've heard, but it's just something that I've seen and floating around. I keep going back to USC and Louisville against Notre Dame, and Notre Dame's defense is very, very good. I'm not trying to discount that. I don't know that they are equipped to handle an offense that is multiple, that is versatile, that can do big things in the run game and in the pass game. And so that's the one area where I keep looking at this matchup, and I am not of the mindset that Ohio State can't lose this game. I want to be very clear. I think that this is a 4-quarter game. I think this is a team in Notre Dame that is going to keep pushing no matter how tough things get for them in this game. And I think that they're, Josh Fryer called Notre Dame the toughest team in the country, which is, I guess, a nice compliment. At the same time, I guess I'd prefer he say his team was the toughest team in the country and Notre Dame was another
I think
one.
that means that you outside.
Yeah, a lot of respect for Notre Dame. And so I do think it's interesting, though, because their schedule this season was highlighted by teams like USC and Louisville that maybe had higher expectations heading into the season and didn't live up to them. But offensively, those teams have the closest thing to the weapons Ohio State has. In both of those games, Notre Dame's defense was exposed a little bit. And so that's where I keep wondering if there's an opportunity to crack this open for Ohio State. And that's where it is. So Xavier Watts, I think, is the 2nd best safety in America. And Notre Dame is going to play him a lot like Ohio State uses Caleb Downs. And I don't know that I don't think Caleb Downs would have the impact against the Ohio State defense he has against everyone else, or Ohio State offense, because there's just so many guys.
Yeah. Here's the other problem. If Josh Fryer said, well, Ohio State is the toughest team in America, then Marcus Freeman gets the bulletin board material. The second part I think that's interesting when you talk about those opponents in those games that Notre Dame played where their defense struggled a little bit, they were also brought up relatively unprompted by Chip Kelly, whatever day that was this week, Monday.
Yeah.
I mean, or Tuesday. They have keyed in on those, and I think that's part of the film study for Ohio State, because one of the questions that we had as soon as the matchup was set was, we know how much man coverage Notre Dame wants to play with Marcus Freeman and Al Golden. We know that they don't change that a lot. And the teams that you said have different ways to attack, both through the air and on the ground, and really good skill players at wide receiver. You try and single them up and just play man. It didn't really work for them. Now, they won the games, but this is the team, Ohio State, that is like built and designed and fully functional and fully formed and able to pick apart that style defense.
Yeah, I mean, Will Kazmarek said it on Wednesday. Ohio State has man beaters. They have zone beaters. But a lot of that stuff, it just starts up front. And if Ohio State is able to keep Will Howard upright and give him an extra tick or two, because he didn't have that against Texas, we've seen what he can do against man coverage, against Tennessee, against Oregon. If you do that, you are putting yourself at risk if you're not getting to the quarterback. And I don't know, especially without Riley Mills, which is where Ohio State is still weakest, is up the middle on the offensive line. I don't know that Notre Dame, barring like selling out for the blitz, I don't know that they have guys to get to the quarterback against Ohio State the way that the rest of the teams they've played in the last 2 months have.
All right. The thing that I found the most interesting and took note of, I thought it was just an amazing quote, and I don't know how this happened, like Josh Fryer is now becoming like a truth teller for Ohio State.
Love it.
And this quote was amazing. I wasn't prepared for it. He said, "We look adversity in the eye and we say, F you." The amount of personality, he did say F you.
Yeah,
that is a full quote.
He moderated.
He didn't go Jack Sawyer into a live mic. I like both. I like scaling it back for public consumption, and I like when Jack Sawyer shows his full personality.
The message got delivered.
The message was delivered, and either way is fine with me, is my point. I like both of them, but I like that is the mentality of this team, and I like that they're talking about it more publicly than really they haven't in quite some time. We spent, Berm, a number of years talking about how professional the entire organization at Ohio State is, and the program treats everything like they are an NFL team. I don't think that that's always the healthiest thing for 18 to 21-year-old kids, because guess what? They are still in college. And I think when Ohio State, and I think about the buildup before the Alabama game in the Sugar Bowl in 2014, and comparing and contrasting the way both of those teams handled media day and who was having fun and who was able to flip a switch on and off between, hey, it's time to be serious and now it's time to have fun and maybe cut loose and show your personality. I think this team's got that balance right now. We're going to find out on Monday night if it wins them a trophy. It doesn't guarantee anything. Being around them, you know that they're having fun. Like they make it fun to be around them.
But there's just no point in beating around the bush at this point. There's no point in trying to pretend that you haven't had adversity. There's no point in trying to pretend that you haven't heard what everyone around the country said about you on December 1st. Like you heard it.
Yeah.
And if you sit here and say, well, we don't care about that. Yes, you do. Like it's human nature. And that those words, and not just nationally, but locally, like those words hurt. And you saw a group that has responded and is using that to motivate themselves. And that's what a young athlete should be finding motivation in that. Like if someone tells you you can't do something as a player at a football player at a place like Ohio State, if your response isn't, yes, I can, I'm going to show you, then you're not cut out for this anyway. You
look the criticism in the eye and you say, F you.
Yeah, that's right.
I love that. I love that mentality. All right, thing number 2. What is a thing you're focused right now on the USC and Louisville game? Mm-hmm. You mentioned it a couple times. What's something that you haven't looked at or we're not talking about for this matchup that you believe is important?
I think that there's not going to be enough discussion about what Riley Leonard brings in the run game. Like I know we're going to talk about it a lot. It's going to be a part of Notre Dame's game plan. I really feel like this is going to be a 20-plus carry game for him if he's able to sustain it. And I actually quote tweeted or retweeted something on Wednesday. Dan Campbell, the Lions head coach, was asked about containing a mobile quarterback and how, what do you do? You're not really good at it. And Dan Campbell's response was, well, who is? No one, it changes the game. And so as good as Ohio State defense has played in the last 3 weeks and last 3 games, this is an element that they have not had to really prepare for. Dylan Gabriel is shifty. He's mobile, but he's not a guy who will pull it down and run, barring a lot of pressure. They don't do design runs with him really at Oregon very often. Nico Iamaleava kept Tennessee in that game with his ability to scramble and stay upright when Ohio State's pass rush was going crazy. Mm-hmm. If Notre Dame's going to beat Ohio State, Riley Leonard has to have that type of game. So I'm wondering from a defensive standpoint,
Feels like maybe that's why Texas fans wanted Arch Manning in that game.
Yeah, because it changes the game. When the pass rush is getting home like that, you have to have something different. I expect that we'll see Cody Simon spy on Riley Leonard most of the game. So I do wonder what that does with Mitchell Evans, the tight end at Notre Dame, and how that, because Sonny Styles is going to be put in some conflict multiple times where Notre Dame will have the opportunity to attack him with the running back or the tight end. And Sonny, as improved as he's been, is still a first-year linebacker learning how to be in coverage. And so I think that's an area where I think Notre Dame is going to look to exploit things.
Yeah, I think there's going to be way more conversation probably about quarterback run, Riley Leonard. It applies to Will Howard too, which is maybe a part that some of the fascination as people are breaking down this game, it's all focused on, can Riley Leonard do it with his legs to help Notre Dame beat Ohio State's defense? I think the same thing has to be true for Will Howard against Notre Dame's defense. We're talking about two of the best statistical defenses in the country. And I think his arm is going to be critical. I think we mentioned that already with the amount of man that they're going to play, and Jeremiah Smith needs to have a much larger role in this game, and I assume that he will. The same will be true for Emeka Egbuka and Carnell Tate. We've seen the tight ends get involved. Like, Will Howard's arm is what he, wanted to come back and prove that he could really do to show to NFL scouts. But some of the conversation about him using his legs and getting the 4th and 2, Ohio State's trust in him. Somebody asked me about this earlier in the week where it's like, was this why Ohio State went and got him? And they invoked comparisons to Kyle McCord. And I just, it feels to me like we should be beyond that. It is clear that Ohio State wanted to be able to use the quarterback to win some of these games and to use him in certain situations. This will be the opportunity to do that. And he did that against Texas. So I think it applies to both quarterbacks, but maybe not evenly.
I think that, and we've talked about this early in the season, I think there was a moment leading up to the start of this 2024-2025 season where Ohio State thought, we're going to use the quarterback a lot like this. We're going to use him a lot in the run game. And then they realized how much better the offense was with Will Howard than anyone else on the roster and decided, he's Justin Fields now. We cannot let him run because if he gets hurt, this train cannot go. And so I think that they changed where the philosophy was heading, and now we're heading into Monday night, the final game of the season, win or lose. So, I can see a scenario where you just let it all hang out. But I'm hoping in a moment of clarity or post-game, hopefully celebration for the Ohio State coaching staff, I want to know, because I don't think this is coach speak. Ryan Day was asked about it on Wednesday. What was the reason Will Howard was your guy? And first thing he said is leadership. I don't know how you learn that about somebody without being around them. I don't know how he picked up on that. Yeah. Just hearing about Will Howard from other people. But then in speaking about Riley Leonard, first thing he said was he's a great leader. And I think
you can see some of that, the way that.
Yeah. It's easy to see that a guy has people gravitate toward him. And when we talk about the 23 Ohio State Buckeyes versus the 24 Ohio State Buckeyes, which there's a lot of that discussion because these teams have played each other so frequently in the last couple of years. Which would Ohio State 23 team be better than 24? There's a lot of, I think it's a fun argument to make, a fun conversation to really try to stack those teams up head to head. I think you take the 24 team simply because Will Howard is a guy that the rest of this team is in love with. Yeah.
So the question was posed to me, and it was more about the rushing ability, and I think that my answer is what has made Will Howard more successful, more productive than Kyle McCord, however your perspective is. I think it is the leadership and the buy-in from the guys around him, and he's a much more vocal, outspoken quarterback than Kyle McCord was, and everyone can lead their own way, and it's much easier for us to say that it is working better for Will Howard than it did Kyle McCord because we're in the middle of it right now. And we can also say that it's probably true based on the results. But
you can also say that Kyle at Syracuse this year was a much different leader than he was here.
And it was working there. Yeah. And the product of your situation and the players around you, and this isn't even, I don't even think that it's fair to view it through comparing the two quarterbacks because you said Justin Fields. There were games where Ohio State was like, well, Dwayne's going to have to run against Maryland, and he did, but they didn't want to do that overall. They were trying to protect him. They didn't do that with Justin. They could have here's the part that in my mind can't play out. I can't get a definitive answer. CJ on a 4th and 2, we know for sure he just did it. He had a 40-yard scramble in the divisional round last weekend. He could have done that.
Jets on that.
Yeah, he could have done that for Ohio State. Dwayne could have done that for Ohio State. Justin Fields had more opportunities where he probably did, but even in the make or break situation that I talk about all the time in the Fiesta Bowl, Ryan Day asked Justin Field to throw the football on a pair of fourth and short plays against Clemson. Would that offensive line from a year ago or 5 years ago, or this coaching staff, like Chip Kelly wasn't a part of that, would they have called that play, or was it just Will Howard? I think it's a collective change, and Ryan Day is around different people and different influence, and I think that to me it doesn't come down to just, well, it's Will Howard and he looks like Josh Allen. I think that's an oversimplification of a conversation that doesn't really matter.
One-legged Willie.
One-legged Willie is Chip
what
Kelly.
Will Howard said Chip Kelly called him, and then Carnell Tate on Wednesday was mocking him, saying, "You didn't do that at Kansas State. Now you come here and you can't stand up straight."
Yeah.
I just think that you have a really special group here, and it's clear that what Will Howard, and again, I feel like we talk about this every week on 3 Thoughts Thursday, but like he's been absolutely the perfect and right quarterback for Ohio State, and Ryan Day will never say one way or the other, but I'm wondering if he looks back on this and says, I could have got the same thing out of Riley Leonard. And I wonder if he could have, because again, we've talked about it. These are the 2 quarterbacks that Ryan Day wanted in the transfer portal. Riley Leonard never really take a second look at Ohio State. He did not. He already had his mind made up, which is why Notre Dame really never took a look at Will Howard, because they already knew where they were going. So it's just this weird thought exercise of what these teams would look like if their quarterbacks would flip-flop.
I think they wound up in the right spot, to be honest with you. It's hard to imagine each one having the success they're having if the roles were reversed, because I don't think that Notre Dame's skill talent at wide receiver comes close, and I don't think that Ohio State would have asked Riley Leonard they would have built an offense around his rushing ability. So I think it worked out for everybody. Clearly, they're in the national title game on Monday night. And because they've had 3 opportunities, now 4, to get a bunch of new gear, Burr. We saw the On Our Way to the A sweatshirt from Sonny Styles. We saw the new quarter zip 2025 national championship for Will Howard. You already purchased a Rose Bowl hoodie. So as you've looked at this, what's thing number 3? I guess you've already answered this in some ways. What piece of gear have you been most jealous of, or that you want the most?
Well, it was the Rose Bowl hoodies that they wore.
But you didn't get one with a number?
I didn't get one with a number of the Ohio State logo because I'm a professional journalist. And so I got one to celebrate the Rose Bowl. Now, it's funny because as much as I dislike everything about the Rose Bowl experience for us as media, it is still the game.
He said it, not me.
It is still the game that means the most and has the most romance behind it and is the most magical. Because I can't imagine a scenario where I'd buy myself a Cotton Bowl sweatshirt. Maybe. I don't.
The Cotton Bowl was trying to lean into the same thing. They had a logo that was just the piece of cotton. Yeah. And it's
I never wanted to buy a Fiesta Bowl.
Oh, I love the Fiesta Bowl.
I wouldn't buy a $100 brick outside of the Fiesta Bowl to put the podcast name on it like I did at the Rose Bowl.
Has the hat arrived?
No, the hat is not arrived.
It's never going to cut.
Well, they're busy out there in California right now, so nobody's responding to emails.
That's true.
But certainly people will see them this week as Ohio State gets to Media Day. They will see the Nike Tech fleece that the Buckeyes are wearing. They're pretty sweet. Shiny, silver and gold, with their numbers on it. There's a crew neck version of that's on sale at Fanatics right now. It's $125. It doesn't have quite the bells and whistles. If you can buy the zip up with the 25 on it for $150, but the crew neck is $124, and it is really sharp. But they only have smalls at this point at Fanatics.
They must have moved fast.
So if Fanatics wants to restock those, that's something people should look at. They are, how do you say, fire.
I wonder how much playoff gear is flying off the shelves for Ohio State fans who, from my experience, and I know that at home, Allie and Liberty are planning to go to Atlanta, that it's getting expensive on the wallets. How much adjustment to that with do I need to buy it from this game or celebrate that game? Well, Jack Sawyer had that play in the Cotton Bowl. Got to get something to memorialize that. I wonder about the strain. Let us know. Reach out. tell us how much you have personally
what
spent.
has your family doled out for this playoff experience to this point? I would love to know that from the fans who made it to multiple games.
And I bet it's a lot more than they budgeted.
Yeah.
Because November 30th was only 7 weeks ago.
Also, we've received backpacks at the Rose Bowl and the Cotton Bowl. Do you,
Please.
Let's just get to this as the final thought on Thursday.
Okay.
Do you want another backpack? Because I still use my 2015 National Championship backpack every single day, because that OGO backpack over there is the best one they've ever given us, and it was 10 years ago.
Are you trying to set me up to go do another spoiled media member?
No. Because I'm hoping, see, the ones they give us now are always like computer bags, and that backpack is so much better that I'm got my fingers crossed, because it's falling apart because it's 10 years old.
Yeah.
I'm kind of got my fingers crossed that we get a third one that is actually a real backpack. And if we get another computer bag, here's another question for you, America. If I have a Rose Bowl, a semifinal, and a national championship backpack, how much would you pay for all three of them?
Get the whole set?
Yeah.
It's amazing to me.
Because I didn't give them out in the Peach Bowl.
We got duffel bags at the Peach Bowl last time we were there, which I'd be like appreciative of, because it is not the same as a backpack. I don't want to be ungrateful. I appreciate getting a media gift. They don't have to do that at all.
Very nice.
Like, now they should, for what the media rate we're being charged at the hotels are, because it's astronomical. And
Well,
if
they
you
should probably give fan rates then, or fan gifts too, because
they're
paying 3 times the amount.
100%. I think that they should, especially with the amount of money that ESPN is paying to broadcast this deal, and where all that money's going, I have no idea. I guess some of it is trickling down to us with these media gifts. But how can you, the Cotton Bowl already knew one of the teams was going to be coming from the Rose Bowl.
Where we already
couldn't actually make one call like, oh, you guys are giving backpacks? Yeah, we'll do something else. Instead, we're going to like probably show up and get a third backpack.
But they gave backpacks at the Orange Bowl as well. They did not do it at the Peach Bowl. They got quarter zips at the Peach Bowl.
No, the Sugar Bowl gave crew neck sweatshirts.
So did the Peach Bowl give backpacks? I haven't heard.
I don't know.
Ask John.
We'll find out.
Yeah, I would like I'm fine with whatever they give us. It's great. And they take really good care of us with the hospitality and the lounge. But I do want to know how much people would pay for 3 playoff backpacks. If Ohio State wins a national championship, I understand they're going to have less value if they lose on Monday night. But America, just reach out and make your best offer.
Wow,
You know
he's trying to profit off of the media.
Make your best offer.
Oh my goodness. I thought you were just going to, you were buttering him up for a giveaway.
Oh, no way.
Oh, okay. Wow. Usually I come off as the most spoiled media member. I'm really glad you're here for that.
No, I'm all about it.
You saved me. I do not.
Get that money.
Please, Atlanta, no backpack. I have so many. I give them away.
We're going to get on the road
We
to
are.
Atlanta
Today.
on Thursday. We will do road breaks this weekend, probably Saturday?
I bet Sunday.
Sunday?
I bet Sunday.
Sunday's the media party. We're probably going to do it on Saturday.
I doubt it. It's going to be Sunday.
It's going to be Saturday or Sunday. We will have a podcast daily again, probably on Sunday, which we did not have normally, but we did last week after the Cotton Bowl with the game on Monday. That's probably the day we'll have bold predictions, I would assume.
Monday we'll have bold predictions on the podcast daily.
So everything else is normal, but there's just going to be a lot of random content throughout the weekend. But
Saturday is the full team media day, so we'll do another notebook for about an hour. Jerry's got the full team coming, so we are excited for that. We're excited to get down to Atlanta. We are hitting the road today, and we will talk to you from the road on the way to Atlanta. The Buckeyes getting ready for Monday night against Notre Dame. Thanks for joining us for a 3 Things Thursday on the Podcast Daily. He's Berm. I'm Austin. We'll see you down there.